Drive and Thrive, where we're hauling freight across the 48. Alright, so I kind of wanted to talk about a topic that a lot of drivers been kind of going back and forth about, as far as electric semis and, you know, fuel emissions, like environmental stuff, as far as like how that, you know, having, you know, trying to bring in electric trucks into the industry, would that affect other drivers' jobs, and what can these things do, you know, things like that, and just trying to see Arsenio's take on the whole deal. Like, do you feel like electric cars are basically, well, not electric cars, but electric trucks are going to be an issue in the driving or in the trucking industry?
I mean, I don't know. Well, it all depends on they're trying to like take off every single truck that runs diesel eventually, and then go to, you know, electric semis, or is it more like just gonna do, I don't know, maybe 20,000 electronic trucks just to get the fuel emission?
Okay, so it's been, you know, I've read some articles here and there about, I think it's like, basically it's like the Biden administration wants to cut down on fuel emissions, or like the vapors that come out of, you know, diesel fuel trucks and things like that, and trying to get more companies to convert their diesel fuel trucks to using electric semis instead, to cut down on those vapors and those fuel emissions. That's why I don't know if some of y'all are aware out there, but in certain states they have what's called no idling laws for truck drivers. And do you have anything to say on that one, or like what that is?
Yeah, because I mean, you have states like, I think New York's one of them, Cali one of them.
Yeah, definitely Cali.
Is there anybody else? I can't.
I'm not, because we know for sure it's, you know, New York and California so far, because not every state does it. And basically, what does that mean? Like no idling? Like what does that mean?
Basically, you have truckers who pretty much never turn off your truck. When it idles, that means it's going to run continuously. Whether it's for, you know, making sure your tractor is well, make sure your tractor is well, sort of keep air circulating. Or, you know, I know in the winter time, most of the time when I idle, it's only because just to make sure the truck doesn't, either the diesel doesn't gel up in the winter time. And that's about it as far as like idling, what that means. Sometimes your truck, you want to use like either high power things like an inverter and things like that, you have to kind of keep it idling in order to be able to use certain items. But that's pretty much, that's the gist of idling.
So, you know, what it seems like what the government is trying to do is they're basically saying, oh, there's too much pollution in the air, and to cut down on that pollution, you know, diesel trucks definitely, you know, make like some, you know, a certain amount of all of that. But in my opinion, if you even look that up, like if you go on like the environmental agencies and things like that, you come to find out that, you know, vehicle exhaust and all the other stuff, or vehicle, you know, pollution from actual like traffic vehicles, only make up about 20-25% of those, you know, fossil fuel emissions. And so the rest of that, or a good heaping bit of that in the US, comes from like actual factories, or that produce like a lot of that pollution in the air. So it's kind of like, you know, out of all of the industries and things like that, and I'm not saying there aren't regulations for factories and things like that when it comes to, you know, emissions and, you know, and chemicals in the air, but truckers to me don't make like the biggest amount of that to be trying to convert a whole bunch of drivers into using electric-based vehicles. Or
it's crazy because it's like you say that and then you go to like California where you can barely see the actual sky. It's nothing but fall. Through the whole world because of these plans and industries going out, you know, either high air, all over the place, but they want to crack down on the truck. And that's just, man, that's, like you said, 20% of it comes from, I mean, there are places where there are times where the weather could be nice, but the truck is still going to idle. I mean, me personally, I don't have the, I don't know, I don't like using diesel like that, so I hardly ever idle. But I've been to a lot of places, especially in Cali, where the weather is always either, I mean, the coldest is going to get maybe at nighttime, could be like 50, but they're going to let the truck run and keep running, and it's going to, you know, I don't like it personally, but hey, you do what you do.
and then like, you know, because people, you know, because I think it also had said, because I'm trying to remember where the article came from, but it was also talking about how like a lot of these trucking companies or things like that are like put in places where there are low income families and things like that, so they're trying to cut down because of that. But if you know, all these factories or industrial complexes and industrial, you know, cities and towns, like they are in, you know, a lot of these low income areas as well. So like a lot of these places where like the whole city, you know, basically work at this one plant or one factory, these couple of factories, because we've been through towns like that where it's like it's a city, but it's like it's full of different plants and you know, a lot of industry there, and so it's just kind of like it just comes off a little misleading to just say or make it seem like, you know, you're making a huge impact if you are just using, you know, electric, you know, semi trucks and vehicles in order to transport freight across the U.S. Now, I'm not saying it wouldn't, you know, make a dent or anything like that, but it would, you know, even when it comes to cost, like a lot of these different, you know, electric vehicles, because there are a lot, you know, a good bit that are being developed for, you know, for companies and drivers and things like that, especially, you know, when it comes to Tesla. So yeah, like a lot of those, you know, electric vehicles and things like that, like, do you feel like that's going to be, you know, really expensive when it comes to costs for, you know, owner-operators, you know, lease operators, or just small fleets and things like that? Like, what do you think is going to happen with that?
As far as the, you know, electric truck or electric semi, I mean, you have, I think Cascadia, they made one that cost like $400,000. Now, I know they're probably not going to go after your average, you know, owner operator or small fleet or nothing like that. I think they're probably geared more towards the megas first, and then of course the megas have this process to where they have trucks for maybe like 3 or 4 years, then they sell them, and then they get a new batch coming in like every year. So I think maybe within the next 10 years or so, give or take, it's probably going to get to the point where you might have, of course, if everything's going like they want it to, you're going to have at least way more electronic trucks, semis on the road than you would have, you know, diesel. So that's just my take.
Because, yeah, like, I would say, yeah, that costs a lot of money. You know, that's hella expensive to be transporting freight. Of course, you know, the argument is going to be, well, you know, I'm going to get more, you you know, I don't have to be spending on diesel. I might be able to, you know, run a lot longer and things like that, or get more mileage off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, where are you gonna charge up your truck? How long is it gonna take to charge? I mean, I don't know how long a Tesla usually takes.
Or like any you know, electric vehicle.
Right.
Because like, how fast are they gonna be able to create charging stations for that? How long they gonna have to be sitting there to charge? How long can it run? There's a lot of different factors with that. You know, diesel fuel is readily available. We already got it set up. I'm not saying this ain't gonna, you know, like he said, this ain't gonna be a, you know, we're not saying this is not gonna be a thing within the next, you know, 10 years. But, you know, as far as like the affordability and things like that, and the convenience, all that, you have to think about those types of things. And, you know, because I've seen some Teslas that, you know, run maybe about 200,000, 240, you know, per vehicle. I mean, there are everyday drivers that want to get, you know, that want to become owner-operators. And so they try to find deals out there. And, you know, their goal is to spend less than $100,000 for a semi. Now, if all these electronic vehicles are over like way over $100,000, that's gonna make it really hard. And then we don't know, nor do we understand like what other regulations are going to be made as far as are there going to be drivers that are fined for using diesel, or you know, is it going to be harder for diesel trucks to be out here, you know, to transport freight on the road? You know, because once there's like an agenda being made, or once there's like something, obviously, you know, America has a, you know, this thing about, you know, when they try to put the new it thing out there, and obviously it's electric vehicles, so that's going to be the new it thing that's going to be pushed through as much as possible. But there's going to also be the question of like, using an electric car, is it really going to save on fossil fuels? You know, or like, is it really going to save as far as like, you know, fossil, you know, like these emissions and things like that? Or is it going to, or do electric cars put out their own emissions and chemicals out there in the air as well? So there's a lot of different things people are not really thinking about when it comes to this.
I mean, if you have anything to say about it, just, I mean, you can easily just comment on it. I mean, give us your opinion on what you think.
Yeah, like, you know, I definitely want to hear what y'all think. You know, what y'all want to say, what your opinion is on it, because it's definitely, you know, this is definitely going to affect a lot of different drivers out on the road, because it's already a lot of different, you know, things and setups as far as electric vehicles, you know, how they run and how they go, and then not being able, because it's already hard enough, because like I seen in an article where it was like, there's already trucks out there, well, there's been trucks out there that check how drivers, you know, drive and things like that, and they can be, you know, the idling feature can be shut off within a vehicle or within a truck itself. So like, some truckers tend to idle because if it's like below freezing temperatures and things like that, they need to run their truck in order to run the heat, because some trucks don't have, you know, what do you call it, the heating panels and stuff in the back. Some trucks don't have that.
It's called a bunk heater.
The bunk heater and stuff like that. Or, you know, and if your company or if that carrier can control those mechanisms, or like they have operating systems within the truck that the company can shut it down just so it can save them money on the cost of fuel. And if you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and you know, you don't have money for a hotel or something like that, then you're just stuck in a cold, you know, in a cold truck, freezing and below freezing temperatures, because you can't turn your truck back on to turn the heat back on, and you know, your carrier telling you, well, we can't do nothing about it, we can't override the feature. You know, that's really dangerous in a lot of ways, and it makes, out there like, you know, I'm trying to make sure this freight get here, you know, this stuff get here on time. Can I at least get some heat in my bunk, you know? And that's crazy. You know, it's crazy that things like that happen to people, you know, especially like, because it's like you don't have control over that situation. Your company has control over that situation. And it's like, do you really care about your driver if they can't even turn the heat on or turn the, because we're not, you know, if we're not even talking about cold temperatures, even in like in extreme hot temperatures, can't even turn the air on, you know, because during certain summers and during certain states, it's still hot out there. It's still hot during the night, you know, and rolling down that damn window ain't gonna, you know, be enough, you know. So yeah,
especially
like
in Arizona when it's like 108 degrees at nighttime.
yeah. Shit, like sitting up here sweating, you know, in all different parts of your body. That stuff is uncomfortable, and you know, it's I can't even imagine. But yeah, like tell us what you think, you know, down in the comments below. So you know, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.